Captain Jake Morrison stared at the screen in disbelief. The message had come through the deep space communication array just an hour ago, and he had read it 5 times already. The words never changed, but they still seemed impossible. This is Captain Helen Stone of the colony ship New Horizon. We are stranded in the Kepler 442 system. Life support failing. Please send help immediately. The New Horizon had been missing for 3 years. Everyone assumed the worst had happened to the colony ship and its 5,000 passengers. Space was dangerous, and ships sometimes just disappeared. But here was proof that someone had survived. Morrison walked across the bridge of the heavy cruiser Defiant. His boots clicked against the metal floor as he approached the communication station where Lieutenant Amy Wells was still working on. The signal. Any luck cleaning up the transmission? Morrison asked. Wells shook her head. The signal is weak, sir. It's amazing it reached us at all from that distance, but the message is clear enough. They need help. Morrison nodded and turned to face his tactical officer, Lieutenant Alex Turner. What do we know about the Kepler 442 system? Turner pulled up a star chart on his display. It's about 40 light-years from Earth, sir. The New Horizon was heading there to establish a mining colony, rich in rare metals according to the surveys. But the system went dark 3 years ago. No communications, no supply ships, nothing. Why didn't we investigate before now? Morrison asked. Too far away, too risky, Turner replied. Command decided the resources were better used defending closer systems. Morrison understood the logic, but it still bothered him. 5,000 people had been written off because they were too far away to save. Now it seemed at least some of them were still alive. Sir, Wells called out. I'm getting another transmission. Morrison hurried back to the communication station. Wells had managed to boost the signal strength, and Captain Stone's voice came through more clearly this time. This is Helen Stone of the New Horizon. We've been hiding in the asteroid belt for 3 years. Our engines are damaged, and we can't make it home. We have maybe 2 weeks of life support left. If anyone receives this message, please help us. The bridge fell silent. Everyone could hear the desperation in Stone's voice. These were fellow humans, trapped and dying in a distant star system. Morrison made his decision quickly. Wells, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're requesting permission to mount a rescue mission. Within 6 hours, Morrison received a response from Admiral Lisa Carter herself. The message was brief but clear. Permission granted. Bring our people home. But not everyone was happy with the decision. Intelligence Officer Ryan Walsh approached Morrison in his ready room later that evening. Captain, I need to express my concerns about this mission, Walsh said. Morrison looked up from the mission plans he was reviewing. Walsh was a careful man, not given to unnecessary worry. If he had concerns, they were worth hearing. What's bothering you, Ryan? Walsh sat down across from Morrison's desk. The signal patterns, sir. I've been analyzing the transmissions from the New Horizon. There's something off about them. Off how? They're too clean, too perfect. When a ship has been damaged for 3 years, cobbled together with spare parts and jury-rigged systems, the signal should show more interference, more distortion. This signal is remarkably clear for something coming from a damaged ship. Morrison frowned. Are you suggesting the distress calls are fake? I'm not sure what I'm suggesting, sir, but my gut tells me something isn't right. The timing is suspicious, too. Why now? Why after 3 years of silence? Morrison considered Walsh's concerns. The intelligence officer had saved their lives more than once with his careful analysis and suspicious nature. But Morrison also knew that overthinking could lead to paralysis. People were dying out there. I understand your concerns, Ryan, but we can't ignore a distress call based on suspicion. Alone. We'll go in ready for trouble, but we're going. Walsh nodded, though he didn't look convinced. I'll prepare contingency plans, sir, just in case. The Defiant left Earth orbit 12 hours later. The crew of 800 was eager for the mission. After months of routine patrols, a rescue operation was exactly the kind of work they had signed up for. Engineer Megan Foster was particularly excited. She had worked on the New Horizons systems before the ship launched. If anyone could help repair the colony ship, it was her. How long until we reach the Kepler 442 system? Morrison asked his navigator. 36 hours at maximum warp, sir, came the reply. Morrison settled into his captain's chair. 36 hours to cover 40 light years. The warp drive made such distances possible, but it still amazed him that they could cross such vast space in less than 2 days. As the Defiant jumped to warp speed, Morrison felt the familiar slight vibration through the ship's hull. The stars. Outside, the view screen stretched into lines of light, then disappeared entirely as they entered warp space. Dr. Nathan Brooks, the ship's science officer, approached Morrison's chair. Captain, I've been reviewing the files on the New Horizon mission. Did you know they reported contact with alien artifacts before they went silent? Morrison turned to face Brooks. Alien artifacts? That wasn't in my briefing. It was classified information, sir. But given our current mission, I thought you should know. The last transmission we received from the New Horizon mentioned discovering ruins on one of the planets. Ancient structures that showed signs of advanced technology. This was news to Morrison. Why wasn't this information shared with the rescue team? Brooks shrugged. Command probably didn't think it was relevant. The artifacts were reportedly millions of years old, dead technology from an extinct civilization. Morrison wasn't so sure. In his experience, there was no such thing as irrelevant information when heading into unknown situations. He made a mental note to review all classified files related to the New Horizon mission. The hours passed slowly as the Defiant raced through warp space toward the Kepler 442 system. Morrison tried to rest, but Walsh's concerns kept echoing in his mind. Something about this felt wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on what. When they were 6 hours out from their destination, Wells picked up another transmission from the New Horizon. Captain Morrison, this is Helen Stone. We've detected your approach. Thank God you came. We're hiding in the asteroid belt around the 4th planet. Our engines are completely dead and life support is failing fast. Please hurry. Morrison felt a mixture of relief and urgency. They were close now, close enough to save these people. Whatever Walsh's suspicions, real humans were counting on them. Take us out of warp, Morrison ordered. Let's go bring our people home. The Defiant dropped out of warp space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Ahead of them lay a yellow star, very much like Earth's sun, surrounded by 6 planets and a scattered asteroid belt. And somewhere in that asteroid belt, the New Horizon was waiting for rescue. The Defiant moved slowly through the Kepler 442 system, scanning for the New Horizon. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the main screen as his crew searched the asteroid belt around the 4th planet. There she is, Lieutenant Turner announced. I've got the New Horizon on sensors. She's hiding behind a large asteroid, just like Captain Stone said. Morrison felt relief wash over him. After Ryan Walsh's warnings, part of him had wondered if they would find anything at all. But there was the colony ship, exactly where the distress calls had said it would be. Take us closer, Morrison ordered. But stay alert. I want full sensor sweeps of the area. The Defiant approached the New Horizon carefully. The colony ship looked intact from the outside, though Morrison could see scorch marks along her hull that suggested some kind of battle damage. "I'm reading life signs aboard the New Horizon," Dr. Brooks reported from his science station. "Approximately 4,000 people. They're alive, Captain." Morrison smiled. 4,000 survivors out of 5,000 wasn't bad odds, considering they had been stranded for 3 years. "Open a channel to the New Horizon." "Channel open, sir," Wells replied. "New Horizon, this is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Ship Defiant. We're here to take you home." The response came quickly. "Captain Morrison, this is Helen Stone. You have no idea how good it is to hear your voice. We've been waiting so long for rescue." "What's your status, Captain Stone? Do you need immediate medical assistance?" There was a pause before Stone answered. "We're hanging on, but barely. Life support is failing, and we have injured people who need help. Can you beam medical teams over?" Morrison looked at Dr. Brooks, who nodded. "We're preparing emergency medical teams now. Stand by for transport." But before the transport could begin, Walsh called out from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the asteroid belt." Morrison turned to face his intelligence officer. "What kind of energy readings?" "Unknown, sir. The pattern is unlike anything in our databases. It's almost like—" Walsh never finished his sentence. The space around the Defiant suddenly filled with massive ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. They were huge, easily 3 times the size of the Defiant, and their design was completely alien. "Red alert!" Morrison shouted. "All hands to battle stations!" The alien ships surrounded the Defiant in a perfect formation. There was no escape route, no way to run. Morrison counted 12 vessels, each one bristling with weapons that were already powering up. "Sir, we're being hailed," Wells reported, her voice shaking. "Put it on screen." The main view screen flickered and changed to show an alien face. The creature had blue-gray skin, large black eyes, and an elongated skull. When it spoke, its voice was cold and emotionless. "I am Admiral Crix of the Zephyrian Confederacy. You have fallen into our trap exactly as we planned." Morrison stepped forward, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Ship Defiant. We're on a humanitarian rescue mission. We mean no harm." Crix made a sound that might have been laughter. "Harm? Humans speak of harm while they spread across the galaxy like a plague. Your species is too aggressive, too unpredictable to be allowed to continue." "What are you talking about? We've never even met your people before." "Haven't you?" Crix tilted his head. "Check your records, Captain. 3 years ago, your colony ship made first contact with one of our scout ships. Your people responded to our peaceful greeting with weapons fire." Morrison felt a cold knot form in his stomach. The New Horizon had reported contact with alien artifacts, but nothing about living aliens or any kind of battle. "That's impossible," Morrison said. "Our people don't attack without provocation." "Your people attacked within minutes of contact," Crix replied. "They destroyed our scout ship and killed the crew. Then they sent a message to Earth calling for military reinforcements. We could not allow this aggression to go unpunished." Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at the screen in shock. This wasn't what they had expected when they came to rescue their fellow humans. "The distress calls," Morrison said slowly. "They were fake." "Very good, Captain. Yes, we have been broadcasting false distress signals for months, waiting for Earth to send a rescue mission. We needed to lure your finest ship and crew far from Earth, where you could cause no more harm." Morrison's mind raced. If the distress calls were fake, then what had happened to the real New Horizon and its passengers? Where are our people? What did you do with the colonists? Crix's expression didn't change. They served their purpose. Their ship will serve as your prison until we are ready to dispose of you. Morrison felt anger building inside him. These aliens had killed 5,000 innocent people and used their ship as bait for a trap. You murdered civilians, families, children. We eliminated a threat, Crick said simply, and now we will eliminate another. Your ship will be disabled and your crew transferred to the New Horizon. There you will remain until we decide your fate. The alien ships opened fire simultaneously, but they weren't trying to destroy the Defiant. Instead, they used some kind of energy weapons that seemed designed to disable rather than destroy. The ship's engines went dead first, then the weapons systems. Engines. Offline, Megan Foster called out from engineering. They're targeting our power system specifically. Weapons are down, Turner reported. Whatever they're hitting us with, it's shutting down our systems one by one. Morrison grabbed his chair as the ship shook under the alien assault. Can we restore power? I'm trying, sir, Foster replied. But whatever they're doing, it's like they know exactly how our technology works. The attack lasted only minutes. When it was over, the Defiant was floating dead in space, completely powerless. Emergency lighting provided the only illumination on the bridge. Crix appeared on the screen again, his image flickering due to the damaged display systems. Your ship is now disabled. You will evacuate to the New Horizon immediately. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your vessel and the death of your crew. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was scared but still looking to him for orders. He had to make a choice that might determine whether any of them survived this. Sir, Walsh said quietly, if we refuse, they'll kill us all. But if we go to the New Horizon, we might have a chance. Morrison nodded slowly. Walsh was right. Dead heroes couldn't save anyone. All hands, this is the captain, Morrison announced over the ship's emergency communication system. We are abandoning ship. All crew members report to the transport bays for evacuation to the New Horizon. As his crew began the evacuation process, Morrison took one last look around the bridge of the Defiant. He had commanded this ship for 3 years, and now he was giving it up to aliens who wanted humanity destroyed, but he wasn't giving up hope. Somehow, some way, he would find a way to turn this around. The aliens thought they had won, but they didn't understand humans very well. They had no idea what humans were capable of when their backs were against the wall. The evacuation took 2 hours. The aliens allowed the humans to use their own transport systems to move to the New Horizon, but they monitored everything carefully. Any attempt to resist or escape would result in immediate death. When the last crew member had been transported over, Morrison found himself standing on the bridge of the New Horizon. The ship looked normal from the inside, but something felt wrong. The air had a strange taste, and the lighting seemed too bright. Admiral Crix's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Welcome to your new home, humans. The New Horizon has been modified to serve as the perfect prison. You will find it most educational. Morrison didn't like the sound of that. But for now, he had 800 crew members to worry about. Whatever the aliens had planned, he would find a way to protect his people. The trap had been sprung, but the game was far from over. The New Horizon felt wrong from the moment Captain Morrison stepped aboard. The corridors that should have been familiar were subtly different. Walls seemed to curve where they should be straight, and doorways appeared where none should exist. Something's not right about this ship, Lieutenant Turner whispered as they were herded through the corridors by invisible alien guards. No one could see their captors, but everyone could feel eyes watching them. Morrison nodded grimly. The ship looked like the New Horizon, but it felt like something else entirely. The air tasted metallic, and there was a constant low humming sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The crew of the Defiant was split into groups and assigned to different sections of the ship. Morrison found himself in what used to be the colony ship's main residential area, along with about 200 of his people. The quarters were cramped and basic, clearly designed to hold many more people than they were meant for. "Captain," Dr. Brooks approached Morrison in the main corridor. "I've been examining this place. The layout doesn't match the original blueprints for the New Horizon." "What do you mean?" Brooks pulled out a portable scanner. "I managed to keep this hidden during the evacuation. The internal structure of this ship has been completely changed. Corridors have been moved, rooms have been added, and some sections seem to shift position." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. "Shift position?" "Watch this," Brooks said. He pointed down the corridor to a door marked Storage Bay 7. "That door leads to the main cargo hold according to the original ship plans. But yesterday, it led to the medical bay." Morrison stared at the door. "That's impossible." "I thought so too. But I've been mapping our movements since we arrived. The ship is changing around us, Captain. The layout shifts every few hours." Before Morrison could respond, the voice of Admiral Crix echoed through the corridor speakers. "Attention humans. You are now residents of the most advanced prison facility in the galaxy. The ship you occupy has been designed specifically to study human behavior under stress. Every corridor, every room, every system has been modified to create the perfect psychological laboratory." Morrison felt anger building inside him. The aliens weren't just holding them prisoner. They were treating his crew like laboratory animals. "Your ship will provide all basic necessities," Crix continued. "Food, water, air, and shelter, but nothing more. You will find that cooperation and order become increasingly difficult to maintain. We are very interested to see how long human civilization can survive in a controlled environment." The announcement ended, leaving the corridor in tense silence. "They're studying us," Communications Officer Helen Price said. She had appeared beside Morrison during the announcement. "Looking for weaknesses in human psychology." Morrison nodded. "Which means they're watching everything we do. We need to be careful about what we say and where we say it." Over the next few days, Morrison began to understand the true nature of their prison. The ship was indeed changing around them. Corridors that led to the dining hall one day led to empty storage rooms the next. The quarters assigned to his crew members shifted locations, separating friends and colleagues. Worse, the food and water were strictly rationed. Each person received exactly enough to survive, but no more. The aliens had calculated the minimum needed to keep humans alive and healthy, and they provided exactly that amount. "This is psychological warfare," Ryan Walsh explained to Morrison during one of their private meetings in what they hoped was a secure location. "They're trying to break down our social structure, make us fight over resources, turn us against each other." Morrison could see that it was already working. Arguments had broken out over food distribution. Some crew members were hoarding their rations while others shared freely. The stress was building, and tempers were getting shorter. Marine Sergeant Danny Cole had tried to organize the crew into work groups and maintain military discipline, but without clear objectives or meaningful work, his efforts were falling apart. People were becoming listless and depressed. "We need to find a way to fight back," Morrison told his senior officers during a meeting in what had once been the New Horizons Bridge. "But first, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Engineer Megan Foster had been studying the ship's systems since their arrival. "The technology here is incredible, Captain. The walls themselves seem to be made of some kind of programmable matter. They can reshape themselves at the molecular level. Is there a way to interfere with that process?" Foster shook her head. "Not with the tools we have. The control systems are completely alien. I can barely understand how they work, let alone sabotage them." Morrison felt frustration building. His crew was trapped in a prison that changed around them, watched by enemies they couldn't see, slowly being driven to despair by careful psychological manipulation. But then he remembered something Ryan Walsh had said during their journey to this system. Walsh had been suspicious of the distress calls because they were too perfect, too clean. The aliens had made the signals exactly what humans would expect to hear. Maybe they were making other assumptions about human behavior that weren't quite right. "Foster, you said the ship's systems are alien, but they're still systems, right? They follow some kind of logic?" "Yes, sir. Complex logic, but still based on scientific principles." "And Dr. Brooks, you said the corridors shift every few hours. Is there a pattern to when they change?" Brooks consulted his notes. "Actually, yes. The changes seem to happen during the ship's night cycle, when most people are asleep." Morrison felt the first stirrings of hope. What if the aliens' biggest mistake was assuming they understood humans well enough to predict our behavior? "What do you mean, Captain?" Walsh asked. "They've studied us, but maybe not well enough. They know we need food and water and air. They know we can be made to fight over resources. But do they really understand human ingenuity, human stubbornness, our refusal to give up even when the situation seems hopeless?" Morrison looked around at his officers. They were tired and scared, but he could see determination returning to their eyes. They think they've created the perfect prison, but every prison has weaknesses. Every system has flaws. We just need to find them. "But how?" Foster asked. "We're completely cut off. No weapons, no tools, no communication with the outside." Morrison smiled grimly. "We have something the aliens don't understand. We have each other. 800 of the finest crew members in the Earth Defense Fleet. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, medics, all working together. You think we can escape?" "I think we can do better than escape," Morrison said. "I think we can turn their perfect trap into our perfect weapon. But it's going to take time, planning, and a lot of careful work." Morrison looked around the group one more time. "The aliens think they know us. They think they can predict how we'll behave under pressure. Let's show them how wrong they are." Over the following days, Morrison began implementing his plan. The crew would continue to act exactly as the aliens expected. They would argue over food, form factions, and appear to be slowly breaking down under the psychological pressure. But underneath that performance, they would be working together. Scientists would study the ship's systems in secret. Engineers would look for weaknesses. Soldiers would prepare for the opportunity to strike back. The aliens had created their perfect trap, but they had made one critical error. They had underestimated the one thing that made humans truly dangerous. They had underestimated human determination to survive and fight back, no matter the odds. The psychological laboratory the aliens had designed was about to become something entirely different. Something they had never planned for. It was about to become a fortress. Megan Foster crawled through the maintenance tunnel beneath the New Horizons main deck, her portable scanner in one hand and a makeshift light in the other. For the past 2 weeks, she had been mapping the ship's true structure while the rest of the crew performed their daily routines above. The aliens were watching everything that happened in the main corridors and living areas, but they seemed to have overlooked the service tunnels and maintenance shafts that ran throughout the ship. Foster had discovered that these hidden passages didn't change like the main corridors did. Foster to Morrison. She whispered into her. Hidden communicator. The device was cobbled together from spare parts and disguised as a medical scanner. To alien observers, she would appear to be checking radiation levels. Go ahead, came Morrison's quiet reply. I found something important. Captain, the quantum field generators that control the ship's shape-changing systems. They're all connected to a central control node in the engineering section. Morrison felt excitement building. After weeks of careful observation and secret planning, they were finally making real progress. Can you access the control systems? Not yet, Foster replied. But I'm learning how they work. The aliens made a big mistake, Captain. They assumed our technology would be completely incompatible with theirs. But quantum field theory is quantum field theory no matter who discovers it. Foster had been working with Dr. Brooks to understand the alien technology. Brooks's scientific background combined with Foster's engineering expertise was proving to be a powerful combination. The fascinating thing, Brooks had explained to Morrison earlier, is that the aliens' quantum field generators work on the same basic principles as our experimental warp drive systems. The math is universal. While Foster explored the ship's hidden systems, other crew members were gathering intelligence in their own ways. Lieutenant Amy Wells had discovered that the aliens' surveillance network relied on sensors embedded in the walls and ceilings. By carefully tracking the positioning of these sensors, she was mapping out blind spots where the crew could meet without being observed. Pilot Chris Adams had been studying the ship's movement patterns. The New Horizon wasn't just sitting still in space. It was slowly orbiting the fourth planet of the Kepler 442 system, following a precise path that brought it close to several large asteroids. I think they're using the asteroids to hide additional alien ships, Adams reported to Morrison during one of their secret meetings in a maintenance bay that Wells had identified as being outside the surveillance network. How many ships? Hard to say without better sensors, but I've detected at least 6 large vessels hiding in the asteroid field. Maybe more. Morrison nodded grimly. The alien fleet was much larger than the 12 ships they had seen during the initial attack. If Earth sent another rescue mission, they would be flying into an even bigger trap. We need to find a way to warn Earth, Morrison said. But first, we need to find a way to survive this ourselves. The crew's secret activities were carefully coordinated to avoid detection. They had learned the aliens' observation patterns and found ways to work around them. When the surveillance systems were focused on one area, teams would work in other. Locations. When the ship's corridors changed during the night cycle, crew members would use the confusion to access normally restricted areas. Marine Sergeant Danny Cole had been training small groups of crew members in hand-to-hand combat techniques, using exercise sessions as cover. The aliens seemed to approve of humans maintaining their physical fitness, so Cole's training sessions went unnoticed. The key is to look defeated while staying ready, Cole explained to his trainees. Act tired and discouraged, but keep your bodies and minds sharp. When the time comes to fight, we need to be ready. Meanwhile, Dr. Brooks had made a disturbing discovery about their alien captors. By carefully studying the few interactions they had with alien guards, he had determined that the Zephyrian Confederacy wasn't just one species, but an alliance of 3 different alien races. Each species has different strengths, Brooks explained to Morrison. One appears to be the warrior caste, another focuses on technology, and the third seems to handle strategy and planning. But they're all connected through some kind of shared communication network. A hive mind? Not exactly, Brooks replied. More like a biological internet. They can share thoughts and information instantly across their entire fleet. It's what makes them so effective as a military force. This information gave Morrison an idea. If the aliens were connected through a shared network, then that network might also be a weakness. Disrupt the communication and the alliance might fall apart. Foster, Morrison called during one of their next secret meetings. Is there any way to interfere with biological communication systems using the ship's quantum field generators? Foster considered the question carefully. Maybe. If the alien communication system uses quantum entanglement or electromagnetic fields, the field generators might be able to disrupt it. But I'd need to understand their biology better. Leave that to me, Dr. Brooks said. I've been collecting biological samples every time we interact with the guards. Hair, skin cells, anything they leave behind. I'm starting to understand how their neural systems work. Morrison felt hope growing stronger. His crew was working together in ways the aliens had never anticipated. Instead of breaking down under pressure, they were becoming more unified and determined. What about weapons? Morrison asked Cole. When the time comes to fight, what will we have? Cole smiled grimly. More than the aliens think, sir. We've been making improvised weapons from ship components. Nothing fancy, but effective. Plus, Foster has been teaching us how to overload certain ship systems to create distractions. And I've been working on something special, Foster added. If I can gain access to the main quantum field generators, I think I can reprogram them to work in reverse. What would that do? Instead of changing the ship's internal structure, they would lock it in place. But more importantly, they could create a massive electromagnetic pulse that would disrupt any nearby electronic systems. Morrison felt excitement building. An EMP weapon could disable the alien ships in the area, giving them a fighting chance. How long do you need? A few more weeks to understand the system completely, and I'll need access to the main engineering section when the time comes. Morrison nodded. They were making progress, but they still needed time to prepare properly. The aliens thought they were watching humans slowly break down under psychological pressure. In reality, they were watching humans do what they did best: adapt, improvise, and work together to overcome impossible odds. What about the moral problem? Ryan Walsh asked quietly. If we take control of this ship, we'll be stranded in alien space with no way to get home. Morrison had been thinking about that same issue. Even if they escaped the prison ship, they were still 40 light-years from Earth with no faster-than-light communication and no way to warn their home planet about the alien threat. One problem at a time, Morrison replied. First, we survive. Then we figure out how to get home and warn Earth. But if we don't break out of this prison, none of that matters. The meeting broke up, and the crew members returned to their regular routines. To any alien observer, they would appear to be just another group of defeated humans, slowly losing hope as the days passed. But underneath the surface, 800 of Earth's finest were preparing for war. The aliens had made their perfect trap, but they had forgotten one important thing about humans. When trapped, humans didn't just sit down and die. They fought back. The signal came during the ship's night cycle, when most of the crew was supposed to be sleeping. 3 short pulses, followed by 2 long ones, transmitted through the ship's ventilation system. It was the code that meant execute Phase 1. Captain. Morrison rolled out of his bunk and quickly dressed. Around him, other crew members were doing the same thing, moving silently in the darkness. After 6 weeks of careful planning, the time had finally come. Megan Foster was already in position in the maintenance tunnels beneath the engineering section. She had spent the last month learning every detail of the alien quantum field generator systems. Tonight, she would put that knowledge to the test. "Foster to Morrison," came her whispered voice over the hidden communication network the crew had built. "I'm in position at the main control node. Beginning system analysis now." Morrison felt his heart beating faster. Everything depended on Foster's ability to reprogram the alien technology. If she failed, they would all die. But if she succeeded, they might just turn the tables on their captors. "Morrison to all teams," he whispered into his communicator. "Operation Reversal is now active. All teams proceed to your assigned positions." Throughout the ship, 800 crew members began moving with quiet precision. Marine Sergeant Danny Cole led his combat teams toward the areas where alien guards were stationed. Communications Officer Helen Price and her technicians headed for the ship's communication center. Dr. Brooks and his medical team moved toward the alien monitoring stations. The plan was complex, but simple in concept. While Foster worked to take control of the ship's systems, the rest of the crew would simultaneously capture key positions and neutralize the alien guards. The success of the operation depended on perfect timing and coordination. Foster reached the main quantum field generator and began connecting her improvised interface devices. The alien control systems were incredibly advanced, but she had learned that they followed logical patterns. More importantly, she had discovered that human creativity could find solutions that the aliens had never considered. "I'm interfacing with the main system now," Foster reported. "The aliens use quantum entanglement for their control networks. I'm attempting to reverse the field polarity." Morrison held his breath. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. If Foster made a mistake, the quantum field generators could explode, destroying the ship and everyone on it. "Field polarity reversed," Foster announced after several tense minutes. "I now have partial control over the ship's structural systems, beginning Phase 2. Phase 2 involved using the ship's own changing corridor system against the alien guards. Foster began reprogramming the quantum field generators to create new passages and seal off others, effectively trapping the aliens in isolated sections of the ship. "Contact!" Danny Cole's voice came over the communication network. "We've encountered alien guards in Section 7. They're wearing some kind of personal shield devices." Morrison felt a moment of panic. They had expected the aliens to have advanced weapons, but personal shields were something they hadn't planned for. "Can you break through?" Morrison asked. "Negative, sir. Their shields are deflecting everything we throw at them." But Dr. Brooks had an answer. "Cole, try using the electromagnetic pulse devices Foster built. The shields probably use the same quantum field technology as the ship systems." Morrison heard the sounds of combat over the communication channel, followed by Cole's excited voice. "It worked. The EMP devices disabled their shields. We've captured 3 alien guards." This was exactly what Morrison had hoped for. The crew began capturing alien guards throughout the ship, using the electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable their advanced equipment. For the first time since their capture, humans were winning a fight against the Zephyrians. "Morrison to Brooks," the captain called. "We need information from the captured aliens. Can you make them talk?" "Already working on it, sir," Brooks replied. "The neural interface devices the aliens use to communicate with each other work both ways. I think I can use them to access their shared knowledge network." Meanwhile, Foster was making amazing progress with the ship's control systems. "Captain, I've gained access to the main power distribution network. I can now control life support, artificial gravity, and internal communications throughout the ship. What about external communications? Morrison asked. Can we contact the alien fleet? Better than that, sir. I can access their surveillance systems. We can see what they're seeing. Morrison felt excitement building. They were actually doing it. They were taking control of the alien prison ship. Helen, can you reach the ship's main communication array? Almost there, Captain, Price replied. My team has secured the communication center. We're working on accessing the external transmitters now. Dr. Brooks came on the communication channel with urgent news. Captain, I've accessed the neural interface of one of the captured aliens. The information I'm getting is incredible. This isn't just a prison ship. It's the command center for the entire invasion fleet. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. What invasion fleet? Sir, there are over 200 alien ships hidden throughout this system. They're not just planning to destroy the Earth Defense Fleet. They're planning to invade Earth itself. Morrison's mind raced. 200 ships was an enormous force, far larger than anything Earth could defend against. But if this ship was the command center, then taking control of it might give them a way to stop the invasion. Brooks, can you access their invasion plans through that neural interface? I'm trying, sir. But the alien's mind is fighting back. I need more time. Foster, what's our status with the ship's systems? I have control of everything except the main engines and weapon systems, Captain, but I'm working on those too. Morrison felt hope growing stronger. They were not only escaping from their prison, they were capturing the enemy's command ship. But he knew the real battle was just beginning. All teams, this is Morrison. We've taken control of most of the ship, but the alien fleet will realize something is wrong soon. We need to be ready for their counterattack. Captain, Foster called out urgently, I'm detecting movement from the alien ships in the asteroid belt. They're powering up their weapons and moving toward our position. Morrison felt his stomach drop. The aliens had realized their command ship was being taken over. How long until they reach us? 20 minutes. Maybe less. Morrison knew they couldn't fight off 200 alien ships with one converted prison vessel. But they had one advantage the aliens didn't know about. Foster, can you access the ship's self-destruct systems? Yes, sir. But why would we... Foster stopped as she realized what Morrison was thinking. You want to use this ship as a weapon. Can you program the quantum field generators to overload? Create a massive explosion that would take out the nearby alien ships? Foster was quiet for a moment, running calculations in her head. Yes, Captain. I can create a quantum cascade failure that would destroy everything within several thousand kilometers. But we'd have to evacuate the ship first. Morrison looked around the corridor where he was standing. They had fought so hard to take control of this ship, and now he was planning to destroy it. But if they could take out even part of the alien fleet, it might give Earth a fighting chance. How long do we have before the alien ships arrive? 15 minutes now, sir. Morrison made his decision. All teams, begin evacuation procedures immediately. We're taking our captured aliens with us and abandoning ship. Foster, prepare the quantum cascade overload. Where are we evacuating to, Captain? Cole asked. Morrison smiled grimly. To the alien ships that are coming to attack us. We're going to capture their rescue vessels and turn them into our escape route. The crew of the Defiant had spent 6 weeks as prisoners in the aliens' perfect trap. Now they were about to turn that trap into the aliens' worst nightmare. The hunters were about to become the hunted. The alien rescue ships approached the new horizon cautiously, unaware that their prey had become the predator. Captain Morrison watched them through the hijacked surveillance systems, counting 12 vessels moving in perfect formation toward what they thought was their command ship. "Foster, status on the quantum cascade overload?" Morrison asked through the communication network. "Charges set and ready, Captain," Foster replied from the engineering section. "When I trigger the cascade failure, we'll have maybe 3 minutes before the explosion. The blast radius will be enormous." Morrison nodded grimly. 3 minutes to evacuate 800 people and capture enemy ships in the middle of a space battle. It seemed impossible, but his crew had already accomplished the impossible by taking control of the alien command vessel. "Dr. Brooks, what's our intelligence situation?" Brooks had been working feverishly with the captured alien neural interfaces, downloading as much information as possible before they had to abandon ship. "I've accessed their fleet deployment patterns, Captain. Most of their ships are automated, drones controlled from command vessels like this one. If we can capture or destroy the command ships, the drones will be helpless." This was exactly the kind of information Morrison needed. The alien fleet wasn't as invulnerable as it appeared. Like all technologically advanced civilizations, they had become dependent on their technology. That dependence could be turned into a weakness. "How many command ships are there?" 12 total, sir. This one and 11 others hidden throughout the system. Each command ship controls about 20 drone vessels. Morrison felt excitement building. If they could somehow take out the command ships, they could neutralize the entire invasion fleet. But first, they had to survive the next few minutes. "Helen, are you ready with the communication systems?" Communications Officer Helen Price had been preparing a special surprise for the approaching alien ships. "Ready, sir. I've been analyzing their communication protocols for weeks. I can disrupt their coordination signals when you give the word." "Danny, are your boarding teams in position?" Marine Sergeant Danny Cole had positioned his teams at strategic points throughout the ship, ready to launch surprise attacks on the alien rescue vessels. "All teams ready, Captain. We've got electromagnetic pulse weapons and improvised explosives. The aliens won't know what hit them." Morrison took a deep breath. Everything was ready. It was time to spring their own trap. "All teams, execute Operation Turnaround. Helen, jam their communications. Foster, prepare to trigger the cascade overload on my signal." The first phase of the counterattack began when Price activated the communication jamming system. The approaching alien ships suddenly found themselves cut off from each other and from their command networks. Their perfect formation began to break apart as individual captains tried to figure out what was happening. "Jamming successful, Captain," Price reported. "They're blind and deaf." "Excellent. Foster, trigger the cascade overload. All teams, prepare for boarding operations." Foster activated the quantum cascade failure deep in the ship's engineering section. The alien quantum field generators began overloading in a carefully controlled chain reaction that would culminate in a massive explosion. "Cascade initiated," Foster announced. 3 minutes until detonation." The confused alien ships moved closer to the new horizon, trying to establish visual contact with their command vessel. They had no idea that hundreds of armed humans were waiting for them in the ship's docking bays and transport chambers. "Contact!" Cole announced as his teams launched their boarding attacks. "We're engaging alien crews on 3 enemy ships. Their personal shields are down thanks to the communication jamming." Morrison watched the battle unfold through the surveillance systems. His crew was fighting with desperate courage, knowing that failure meant not just death, but the destruction of Earth itself. The aliens had superior technology, but they were unprepared for human tactics and determination. "Brooks, can you access the alien ship systems once we're aboard?" "Already working on it, sir," Brooks replied from one of the captured alien vessels. "Their neural interface technology works both ways. I'm uploading human thoughts and memories." into their shared network. It's causing massive confusion among their crews. This was something the aliens had never experienced. Their shared consciousness was being invaded by alien thoughts and emotions. Human concepts like individual determination, creative problem-solving, and refusal to surrender were spreading through their network like a virus. Foster, status on the evacuation: 600 crew members evacuated and aboard captured alien ships, Foster reported. 200 still aboard the New Horizon, 90 seconds until detonation. Morrison was among the crew members still aboard the command ship, making sure everyone else got out safely. As captain, he would be the last to leave. But time was running out fast. "Captain, you need to get off that ship now," Cole called over the communication network. Morrison ran toward the nearest transport chamber, where a few dozen crew members were still waiting for evacuation. The ship around him was beginning to shake as the quantum cascade failure built toward its climax. 60 seconds to detonation, Foster announced. All remaining personnel must evacuate immediately. Morrison reached the transport chamber just as the last group of crew members was beaming over to a captured alien vessel. He stepped onto the transport pad and felt the familiar sensation of molecular disassembly and reassembly. He materialized aboard an alien ship just as the New Horizon exploded. The quantum cascade failure created a blast of energy unlike anything the universe had seen in millions of years. The explosion was visible from anywhere in the solar system, a brief new star that outshone the system's sun for several seconds. The alien rescue ships that had been closest to the New Horizon were vaporized instantly. Others were damaged by the electromagnetic pulse that accompanied the explosion, but the humans aboard the captured vessels were protected by the ship's own shielding systems. "Status report," Morrison called out as he oriented himself aboard the alien vessel. "All crew members accounted for, Captain," Cole reported. "We've captured 8 alien ships total. Enemy casualties are heavy. Our casualties are minimal." Morrison felt relief wash over him. They had done it. They had escaped from the perfect alien trap and turned it into a devastating counterattack. "Brooks, what's the situation with the alien fleet?" Dr. Brooks had been working to expand the neural network virus he had introduced into the alien consciousness. "It's working better than I hoped, sir. The human concepts we uploaded are causing massive confusion in their shared mind. Many of their ships are dead in space as their crews try to deal with the psychological chaos." Morrison realized that they had discovered something incredible. The aliens' greatest strength, their shared consciousness, was also their greatest weakness. They were unable to deal with the chaotic individual nature of human thought. "Foster, can you access the quantum field generators on these captured ships?" "Already working on it, Captain," Foster replied. "The technology is similar to what we just destroyed. I think I can modify these ships to generate the same kind of electromagnetic pulse we used as a weapon." Morrison felt hope growing stronger. They had gone from prisoners to captors in less than an hour. But the battle was far from over. "Helen, can you contact the other alien command ships?" "Yes, sir. I'm tapping into their communication network now." Morrison smiled grimly. It was time to take the fight to the enemy. The aliens had tried to set a perfect trap for humanity. Instead, they had given humans the tools they needed to strike back. "Open a channel to all alien command vessels," Morrison ordered. When the channel was open, Morrison spoke with the voice of humanity itself. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your command ship has been destroyed, and your fleet is in chaos. You tried to eliminate humanity because you thought we were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. You were right. We are dangerous. We're dangerous to anyone who threatens innocent people. Surrender now, or face the consequences." The response came quickly from Admiral Crix, his voice filled with rage and disbelief. "This is impossible. You are primitive creatures. How did you escape our perfect prison?" Morrison's smile grew wider. "The same way we've survived every other threat in our history. We adapted, we improvised, we refused to give up, and we turned your own weapons against you. You cannot defeat our entire fleet with a few captured ships." "Watch us," Morrison replied. The battle for the Kepler 442 system was about to begin in earnest. But now it was the aliens who were trapped, and humanity that held the advantage. The perfect trap had become humanity's perfect weapon. Admiral Crix stared at the tactical display aboard his flagship, unable to believe what he was seeing. The perfect trap his people had spent 3 years preparing was falling apart in front of his eyes. Worse, the primitive humans had somehow turned their prison ship into a weapon that had destroyed half of his rescue fleet. "Report," Crix demanded from his tactical officer. "Sir, we've lost contact with 8 command vessels. The quantum cascade explosion disabled most of our nearby ships. The humans appear to have captured several of our vessels and are using them against us." Crix felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career: doubt. The Zephyrian Confederacy had conquered dozens of star systems using their superior technology and shared consciousness. No enemy had ever successfully resisted them for more than a few hours, but these humans were different. Instead of breaking under psychological pressure, they had somehow learned to use Zephyrian technology against its creators. "Sir, the communications," officer called out. "We're receiving reports from throughout the fleet. Our shared consciousness network is being disrupted by some kind of mental virus. Many crews are reporting confusion and inability to coordinate." Crix closed his eyes and tried to access the shared network that connected all Zephyrian minds. What he found there horrified him. Human thoughts and emotions were spreading through the collective consciousness like a plague. Concepts of individual determination, creative chaos, and stubborn refusal to accept defeat were infecting Zephyrian minds that had never experienced such ideas. "Cut all neural network connections immediately," Crix ordered. "Isolate our ships from the contamination." But it was too late. The damage was already spreading. Zephyrian crews throughout the fleet were beginning to think like individuals instead of parts of a collective. Some were panicking, others were becoming paralyzed by indecision, and a few were actually beginning to question the invasion itself. Aboard the captured alien vessel Retribution, Captain Morrison was coordinating his own fleet's response. Engineer Megan Foster had successfully modified the quantum field generators on all 8 captured ships, turning them into mobile EMP weapons. "Status report on the alien fleet," Morrison called out. "Approximately 150 ships still operational," Lieutenant Alex Turner reported from his tactical station. "But their coordination is breaking down. Many of them are just sitting dead in space." Morrison felt grim satisfaction. The aliens' shared consciousness had been their greatest advantage, but it was proving to be a critical weakness when disrupted. Dr. Brooks had done incredible work introducing human psychological concepts into their mental network. "Brooks, can you explain what's happening to their minds?" Dr. Brooks looked up from the alien neural interface he was still connected to. "It's fascinating, Captain. The Zephyrian consciousness is based on absolute order and collective thinking. They've never dealt with individual creativity or chaotic problem-solving. When human thoughts entered their network, it created a kind of mental chaos they're not equipped to handle. How long will the effect last? Hard to say. Some of them are starting to adapt to individual thinking. Others are completely shut down, but the damage to their coordination is severe. Morrison nodded. This gave them a window of opportunity, but it wouldn't last forever. They needed to press their advantage while they had it. Foster, are the EMP weapons ready? All ships armed. And ready, Captain, Foster replied. We can generate coordinated electromagnetic pulses that should disable any alien ship within range. Helen, can you coordinate the attack? Communications Officer Helen Price had been working to establish a communication network between the captured alien ships. Ready, sir. All ship captains are standing by for your orders. Morrison looked around the bridge of the captured alien vessel. 800 crew members from the Defiant were now spread across 8 enemy ships, preparing to take on a fleet 20 times their size. The odds were still terrible, but they had already accomplished the impossible once today. All ships. This is Morrison. Target the remaining command vessels first. Without them, the drone ships will be helpless. Execute coordinated EMP attack on my mark. The 8 captured ships moved into attack formation, their modified quantum field generators, charging up for maximum electromagnetic output. They were facing overwhelming odds, but human determination and ingenuity had gotten them this far. Mark! 8 massive electromagnetic pulses erupted simultaneously, creating overlapping fields of energy that swept across the alien fleet. The effect was immediate and devastating. Command ships that had been coordinating drone attacks suddenly went dark. Automated vessels lost their guidance systems and began drifting helplessly. Direct hit on 6 command vessels, Turner reported. They're dead in space, but the aliens weren't finished yet. The remaining command ships began to adapt, using their intact vessels to coordinate a counterattack. Plasma beams lanced out from dozens of alien ships targeting the captured vessels. Evasive maneuvers, Morrison ordered. All ships scatter and prepare for individual combat. The battle that followed was unlike anything space had ever seen. Human crews, using captured alien technology they barely understood, fought against an enemy that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. The humans had no formal training on alien ships, but they had something the Zephyrians didn't, the ability to improvise and adapt in real time. Captain, we're taking heavy damage, came the voice of Danny Cole from one of the other captured ships. Our shields are failing. Foster, can you overload this ship's quantum field generators for another cascade explosion? Morrison asked. Yes, sir, but it would be smaller than the last one, and we'd have to evacuate again. Morrison considered their options. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they still had the element of surprise. The aliens expected predictable tactics, but humans excelled at doing the unexpected. All ships, prepare for ramming speed. We're going to take out their command vessels with direct collision attacks. The alien fleet was unprepared for such a desperate tactic. Zephyrian strategy was based on careful planning and overwhelming technological advantage. The idea of deliberately destroying your own ships to damage the enemy was completely foreign to their collective mindset. Sir, that's suicide, came a voice from one of the ship captains. Not if we evacuate at the last second, Morrison replied. Helen, can you coordinate mass evacuations using the alien transport systems? Already working on it, Captain. I've figured out how to use their teleportation technology. We can beam entire crews from ship to ship in seconds. Morrison felt excitement building. They could turn the captured alien vessels into guided missiles, evacuating the crews at the last possible moment. All ships, begin evacuation to designated survivor vessels. Prepare for ramming attacks on my command. The next few minutes were chaos, as 8 captured ships accelerated toward alien command vessels while their crews evacuated to safety. The Zephyrians tried to intercept the ramming ships, but human pilots flying with desperate courage proved almost impossible to stop. The first captured ship slammed into Admiral Crix's flagship at nearly half the speed of light. The quantum field generators overloaded on impact, creating a massive explosion that destroyed both vessels and damaged a dozen others nearby. "Flagship destroyed!" Turner reported with excitement. "Admiral Crix is dead!" One by one, the other. Captured ships found their targets. By the time the ramming attacks were finished, 7 of the remaining alien command vessels had been destroyed. The few survivors were scattered and leaderless. "Status of the alien fleet?" Morrison asked. "Less than 50 ships still operational," Turner replied. "Most of their drone vessels are dead without command ship guidance. The remaining ships are retreating toward the edge of the system." Morrison felt exhaustion and triumph washing over him in equal measure. They had done it. 800 humans had defeated an alien fleet of over 200 ships. The perfect trap had become humanity's perfect victory, but the battle was far from over. The surviving aliens would regroup and possibly call for reinforcements. And Earth was still 40 light-years away, unaware of the threat that had been building against them. "Brooks, did you manage to download any information about other alien forces?" Dr. Brooks nodded grimly. "Yes, Captain. And it's not good news. This fleet was just the advance force. There are larger fleets assembling in other systems, preparing for a coordinated attack on Earth and other human colonies." Morrison felt his stomach drop. They had won a battle, but the war was just beginning. "How long before the main invasion begins?" "According to the data I downloaded, 6 months, maybe less." Morrison looked around the bridge of their single remaining captured ship. They had proven that humans could defeat the aliens, but they were still stranded in enemy space with no way to get home and warn Earth. "Foster, what's our status for long-range travel?" "The ship is heavily damaged but functional. The quantum drive could get us back to Earth, but it would take months." Morrison made his decision. "Then we'd better get started. Earth needs to know what's coming, and we're the only ones who can warn them." The tomb the aliens had prepared, for humanity had become their own. But the real test was still ahead. Humanity's survival would depend on what they did with the knowledge they had gained in the Kepler 442 system. Carter felt a mixture of satisfaction and responsibility. Humanity had not only survived the alien threat, but had become a major galactic power almost overnight. The species that had tried to eliminate them as too dangerous had inadvertently given them the tools to become exactly what they had feared. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Morrison asked. Carter looked out at the captured alien ships and the liberated species that had joined their fleet. Humanity now had the power to conquer and subjugate, just like the Zephyrians had done. But that wasn't who humans were. "We help them rebuild," Carter said. "We share our technology and our knowledge. We create an alliance based on freedom and cooperation, not conquest and domination." Morrison smiled. The aliens were right about one thing. "We are dangerous. We're dangerous to anyone who tries to take away freedom." 6 months ago, the Zephyrians had set what they thought was the perfect trap for humanity. They had intended to eliminate a species they saw as too chaotic and unpredictable to exist among civilized worlds. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed to become the most powerful force in the galaxy. The tomb they had prepared for their enemies had become their own, and from its ashes had risen something new, an alliance of free worlds led by a species that refused to give up, no matter the odds. The Zephyrians had been right about humans being dangerous. They were dangerous to tyrants, dangerous to oppressors, and dangerous to anyone who underestimated the power of human determination. And now the galaxy would learn what happened when you tried to trap humanity. You became. 6 months later, Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Vanguard, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for battle. 300 ships from Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies had assembled in the Sol system, armed with technology that had seemed impossible just a year ago. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the lead alien vessel," Communications Officer Helen Price reported. After the battle at Kepler 442, the crew of the Defiant had been scattered across the new fleet to share their hard-won expertise with other ships. "Put it on screen," Carter ordered. The face that appeared was similar to Admiral Crick's, but with more elaborate markings that suggested higher rank. When the alien spoke, its voice carried the arrogance of a species that had conquered hundreds of worlds. "I am Supreme Admiral Vex of the Zephyrian Confederacy. We come to claim this system and eliminate the human infestation. Your defeat of our advanced fleet was impressive but meaningless. You faced the combined might of 12 worlds and over 1,000 ships. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Admiral Carter stepped forward, her voice calm and confident. "This is Admiral Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet. We've faced your people before. We know your weaknesses. You underestimated us once. Don't make that mistake again." Vex's expression showed confusion. "Impossible. The advance fleet was destroyed by unknown forces. No human vessels escaped the Kepler 442 system." Carter smiled grimly. "Captain Morrison, would you like to answer that?" Jake Morrison appeared on screen beside Carter. He was now commanding the new heavy cruiser Defiant II, built using alien technology recovered from the battle 6 months ago. "Hello again," Morrison said. "We did more than escape. We learned, we adapted, and we brought back some friends." The view screen changed to show the human fleet in all its glory, but mixed among the Earth ships were dozens of vessels with unfamiliar designs. These were the ships of other species that the Zephyrians had conquered over the centuries. "When we returned to Earth, we brought more than just warnings," Morrison continued. "We brought proof that the Zephyrian Confederacy could be defeated. Species that had been enslaved for generations rose up in rebellion when they learned what happened at Kepler 442. Dr. Nathan Brooks appeared on screen next. "We also brought detailed information about Zephyrian biology and psychology. We know exactly how to disrupt their shared consciousness network. We've developed weapons specifically designed to exploit their weaknesses." Supreme Admiral Vex's confidence was beginning to crack. "You know nothing of our power. We are the apex of galactic civilization. Your primitive minds cannot comprehend our superiority." "Actually," Engineer Megan Foster said as she joined the transmission, "your technology is impressive, but it's not magic. Quantum field theory, electromagnetic manipulation, neural networking, we understand it all now, and we've improved on it." Carter decided it was time to end the conversation. "Supreme Admiral Vex, you came here expecting to find a defenseless world populated by primitive humans. Instead, you found the heart of a new galactic alliance, one that values freedom over order, creativity over conformity, and the rights of individuals over the power of collectives. This is your final warning," Carter continued. "Leave this system now and never return, or face the consequences of underestimating humanity a second time." Vex's response was predictable. We do not negotiate with inferior species. All ships. Attack formation. Destroy the human fleet and claim this system for the Confederacy. The Zephyrian fleet moved forward in perfect formation, over 1,000 ships advancing in precise geometric patterns. It was an intimidating sight, but the human commanders were no longer afraid of alien technology. All ships. Execute plan. Morrison, Carter ordered. Plan Morrison was named after the captain who had first discovered how to turn alien advantages into weaknesses. Instead of meeting the enemy in traditional battle formation, the human and allied ships scattered across three-dimensional space, using individual initiative and unpredictable tactics. The first phase of the battle involved Dr. Brooks's neural network virus, now refined and weaponized. Specialized transmission devices aboard the human ships began broadcasting human thoughts and emotions directly into the Zephyrian shared consciousness. The effect was immediate and devastating. The perfect alien formation began to break apart as individual ship captains experienced confusion, doubt, and the terrifying concept of independent thought. Some ships stopped dead in space as their crews struggled with unfamiliar emotions. Others began firing on their own allies as human concepts of suspicion and paranoia spread through their network. Neural disruption successful, Brooks reported from his position aboard the science vessel Discovery. Their coordination is collapsing just like before, but on a much larger scale. Megan Foster had been working for months to develop new applications of quantum field technology. Her ships now unleashed coordinated electromagnetic pulses that disabled hundreds of alien vessels simultaneously. EMP attack successful, Foster reported. Enemy fleet effectiveness reduced by 60%. But the Zephyrians had learned from their previous defeat. Supreme Admiral Vex had kept his command ships isolated from the shared network, preventing them from being infected by the neural virus. These ships now tried to rally the confused and damaged fleet. All remaining vessels break neural connections and fight independently, Vex commanded. Use traditional tactics and overwhelm them with superior numbers. This was exactly what the human commanders had hoped for. The aliens were strongest when fighting as a collective, but much weaker when forced to rely on individual decision-making. Human ships, with their experienced crews and flexible tactics, excelled at individual combat. The battle became a massive free-for-all as hundreds of ships engaged in single combat across the solar system. Human pilots, trained in improvisation and creative problem-solving, consistently outmaneuvered alien opponents who were used to following predetermined tactical programs. Captain Morrison led a squadron of Earth ships against Vex's command vessel, using tactics that the alien admiral had never encountered. Instead of attacking directly, Morrison's ships used captured alien cloaking technology to appear and disappear at random, striking from unexpected angles. Their command ship is heavily shielded, Morrison reported. We need something bigger to break through their defenses. Carter had saved the best surprise for last. Morrison, stand clear. Time to show them what human engineering can really do. The massive space station Humanity's Forge uncloaked near the alien command ship. Built in secret over the past 6 months using recovered alien technology, it was the largest military vessel humans had ever constructed. This is Admiral Carter to Supreme Admiral Vex. Do you see that station? It was built by humans using your own technology. We took your perfect trap and turned it into our perfect weapon. Now we've taken your entire technological advantage and made it our own. The Humanity's Forge opened fire with quantum field cannons that punched through the alien ship's shields like they were made of paper. The command vessel exploded in a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from Earth's surface. With their supreme commander dead and their fleet in chaos, the remaining Zephyrian ships began to retreat. But Carter wasn't finished with them yet. All ships, pursue and capture as many alien vessels as possible. We need to send a message to the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated. The pursuit lasted for hours as human and allied ships chased down the fleeing Zephyrians. By the time it was over, less than 100 alien ships had escaped to hyperspace. The rest had been captured or destroyed. "Admiral," Morrison called from his ship, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from multiple star systems. Word of our victory is spreading across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire is collapsing.